guys, my name is Rage and we are back today with another beginner guide video for you all. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my personal top 3 teams that I would recommend if I was starting out the game again in terms of being able to assist and help you with your progression, as well as characters to keep in mind as you're progressing towards the game. This is going to give you a sense, especially with my days now logged in here. If you look in the achievements, I am actually here at 474 days, so just about 16 months in the game I've played, so you can really get a sense of how high I've brought these characters up, as well as their utilization and how you can utilize them as you're progressing. So with that being said here, let's take a look at our first team. Starting off here, you guys, I want to talk to you about the Sinister Six team, and I'm sure you've seen from a lot of content creators and YouTubers that Sinister Six is a top recommendation, and it's a very simple reason. You can see that despite me playing for almost 16 months, these guys aren't really built up. That's really because of the fact that they actually open a lot of doors in terms of being able to unlock 2 potential legendaries. One being Invisible Woman, that rotates every couple of months whenever she is available to be unlocked, as well as now the permanent event here. If you go into the events, Shuri is now available, as you can see here, because of the fact that the Sinister Six are actually classified as Spider-Verse characters, so that makes them actually be able to double dip the 2 potential legendaries. With that being said, this is one of the few teams that actually has more than 5 characters that you can utilize, so that really does want to help us try to narrow down the top 5 that we should be actually utilizing for these unlocks. With that being said here, my top recommendations, with the exception of Dr. Octopus, him being a legendary, you won't have access to him early in the game, but he will be available later the moment you have the 5 unlocks for him. With that being said, I do recommend Electro. She's very available in the Blitz store, one of the best stores to actually be able to purchase credits. She has great damage, and she can provide a lot of value, especially in the late game when she's paired with Dr. Octopus later on. Next, we have the tank of the team, Rhino. Similar to Electro, he's also available in the Blitz store as well. So these are definitely 2 of the top recommendations because of the fact of their accessibility. The Blitz store credits you're going to find, you'll get a lot of available credits. Next, we are going to talk about Shocker here. Unfortunately, with him being summonable by Dr. Octopus, he's actually not a recommendation in my opinion. So I would actually skip him, but he does have a nice kit overall. Just due to the fact that Dr. Octopus summons him, he's not really a character I would recommend in the beginning. Vulture, he has a great manipulation of the speed meter and being able to support your team, so I would recommend him. He is actually available in the Arena store, so you can purchase him with the Arena store credits, but he would be a recommendation in my books. Next, we do have Swarm. Swarm is one of the newest additions actually in the Arena store as well. So, he can be interchanged with Vulture. Really depends on, at the end of the day, how much credits you want to utilize, whether or not you want to utilize the Arena store. Personally, if I had to choose between Vulture and Swarm, I would go with Swarm, just with him being the better of the 2 duel there. And then as well, we also have Mysterio here that's available actually now in the raid store as well. I believe that now you can actually farm him as well. So he's available in 2 different stores, which is very nice. Another access point again. And Mysterio is like more of a defensive type of character in this team, so he really does provide some support. But you can see I still didn't have him built up quite a bit because of the fact that, again, you don't really need too high of a level for these guys to actually unlock the legendaries. Last but not least, Green Goblin is actually available as well early in the Villains campaign, so he is a recommendation I would also prioritize. So with that being said, those are the ones I do recommend. So really the only one I wouldn't recommend is Shocker, and Vulture is more of a situational one. If you guys have the credits to spare, please go ahead. If not, I would say that Swarm, Mysterio, Green Goblin, Electro, and Rhino would be the top 5 to get those out of the way, so that way you can utilize them for unlocking legendaries. And keep in mind as well, Shuri, the legendary that requires Spider-Verse, can also be mixed in with the Spideyverse character. So you can always include those guys into this mix as well. With that being said here, that does conclude my Sinister Six here. Next, you guys, we are going to talk about the Wave 1 Avengers team here. And I really want to bring up the fact that you can see how much more powerful they are than the Sinister Six because of the fact that they provide immense value for not only the early, but the mid, as well as the late potential game if you want to bring them on, especially in Dark Dimension 3. With that being said here, just moving ahead, Black Widow is actually one of the few characters out of this mix that I actually have as part of my Dark Dimension 3 team. And for me, she added immense value because of her speed up. She has a very useful stun. And the beautiful part about her is you guys can farm her very early in the game. You could probably farm her in the first week, honestly, depending on how much you play. But she's very beginner friendly. And on top of that, her kit's amazing and that provides amazing value for her Wave 1 Avengers. Next, it's going to be Captain America shouldering the damage. He has defense up. He has the ability to generate energy for his Wave 1 Avengers. And he also has the ability to strip away positive buffs. So, I mean, I really like his kit overall. I think he's a great character. But the rework really did a lot of justice for these guys. And I love the fact that they gained value overall. And the biggest thing with the rework was Thor gaining his passive God of Thunder. Normally with this attack, it actually applied to his original Asgardian team, but when they added the extra line here being Wave 1 Avenger ally, he now allows for that opportunity to have those extra additional strikes, especially when he's charged up, and that really what makes this team absolutely potent. I've utilized these guys in late game in my Doom Chapter 3, so I'm just telling you guys right now, if you're able to build these guys early, you're going to get huge dividends in the late game. And Hulk, very, very amazing character. You know, he's actually so available because of all the daily objectives you go through and achievements. So Hulk is no brainer, and he's really, really powerful now because of the fact of the rework. He's great for shouldering damage. He heals himself. In addition to that, if he is below that health threshold, you can see that his damage does get multiplied. So really, when his health is low, I'm actually not worried because of the fact that you can save it for a very powerful ultimate ability. I love that about Hulk. So it does give him justice, you know, especially with him being a very powerful character in the movies as well. And last but not least, it is going to be Hawkeye. Hawkeye has amazing synergy with Black Widow, always being able to have that assisted attack. In addition to that, Hawkeye is able to actually take away the enemy speed meter. And on top of that, he actually operates similar to Taskmaster, a really great character in the game, having the ability to actually blind as well as slow. So those are the 5 out of this Wave 1 that I do recommend. And with that being said here, Thor is nice because he can actually be farmed, both actually in the campaign heroes as well as being in the raid store. Captain America and Black Widow are both available campaign. Hawkeye is available through the campaign, and Hulk, you will find him just by playing the game. So this team, in terms of accessibility, it's a lot better than the Sinister Six. You might even have them before the Sinister Six that I recommended, but I wanted to showcase you guys the intermediate team here because they're definitely going to be the more powerful team when you compare them to the Sinister Six. Last but not least here, you guys, I am going to talk about the Asgardian roster here, especially when you're beginning out. And I left them for the last because of the fact that it's, you know, you can see that their power level is quite comparable to Wave 1, but they are a little bit harder to obtain. So that's why I think in terms of progression, they'll definitely be probably likely your 3rd or 4th team as you progress in the game. With that being said, you can see that the nice familiar link here is going to be Thor because he's part of 2 teams. But the beautiful thing about these Asgardians is the fact that they actually do unlock one of the most powerful legendaries in the game in terms of offensive prowess, and that's Black Bolt. Black Bolt subsequently then is used to unlock another legendary with his fellow Inhumans. So you can see kind of the clockwork here. It's really essential to have these guys to be part of that core. On top of that, Hela is, you can see her power level is quite raised because she is actually part of not only unlocking Black Bolt, but also unlocking Phoenix, and you need the 6 yellow requirements for all those characters. But that's for another video. Honestly speaking, these guys are great for the mid-early game, but I still utilize them as part of war defense. So absolutely amazing value. So with that being said, let's talk about their abilities and kit. We've talked about Thor already. He's available through both the raid as well as campaign. Loki, he's available early actually in the game as well, but again, you're gonna need some time to get through the Mystic campaign to actually be able to unlock him. But I love Loki's kit because of the fact that he has a mixture of offense and defensive capabilities. He can really deal a lot of damage in the beginning of a turn, especially applying defense down with special mind control, as well as being able to have an ultimate ability here that actually protects his fellow Asgardians, in addition to summoning clones that take away damage. So that's a really great mixture. If you can unlock Loki early in the game, he provides immense value. Next, I've already kind of briefly mentioned it, but Hela is one of the top favorites for a lot of players. She's almost a Dark Dimension 3 recommended for almost across all characters and players utilizing her. She's definitely utilized in Dark Dimension 4. The only caveat, however, is that she's quite expensive to bring into those Dark Dimension nodes, so that's really where a lot of players have to think about that. With that being said, Hela has one of the few abilities in the game that can actually translate one negative condition from one character to all the enemies that are pretty much in the field. So with that being said, it doesn't spread the stun, but you can see that it spreads at least 4 negatives. So it's absolutely amazing when you try to blind or trying to apply that bleed, and that is one of the amazing abilities with her. On top of that, she actually has her ally here, Command Undead, which actually summons her passive here, which actually summons Greg. And Greg is one of the unkillable Asgardians in the sense that he can take a damage, but he'll always be revived so as long as Hel is alive. So that really what adds a lot of value for her. You'd be surprised by how many times Greg gets attacked instead of a fellow ally, and that adds immense value, especially when we're trying to increase overall survivability. And on top of that, Hela is just utilized for almost all modes of the game. She's a slot-in character and definitely one of the best in the game, especially with her not being a legendary character. I don't have Heimdall built up as much because you can see that as I leveled up these other 3 that actually had value, Heimdall, like, he's just honestly there to be part of the Asgardians team to really have that synergy. But he is a great character overall. He's got a nice kit. He can actually strip away stealths, and he's quite tanky, which is nice. But again, other than being part of the Asgardians team, he doesn't actually add a lot of endgame value.
Heimdall is available through the Arena store, which is quite convenient.
And last but not least, you know, she's honestly supposed to be the tank of the team, and she's in a similar boat to Heimdall. I do like their kits overall. It's just they don't, unfortunately, get much love in the late game. So that is why they are where they are right now, especially in terms of the power level when you compare it to Loki as well as Thor. But with that being said, I still think Asgardians are one of the top, at least the top 5, top 10 teams in war defense. The nice, beautiful thing is they can also be interchanged for war offense as well. So they're quite interchangeable. But really, again, their endgame value is immense because of the fact that many of these characters in this team can be utilized in the late game. And I'm looking at you, Hela. I'm looking at you, Thor, especially with them being part of different teams or unlocking legendaries. These are definitely the top 3 teams I recommend, especially when you're beginning out as a newer player. These teams will likely add a lot of value in your progression. And again, if you guys work on them earlier rather than later, it's definitely mistakes I wish I could have went back and reflected on. One of my first team was defenders, but again, the defenders aren't really used much now. But these 3 teams are definitely still utilized, even as part of growing or even now the late game. With that being said, you guys, those are the 3 I recommend. Hope this video was able to provide some insight for you guys, especially you newer players out there. Thank you as always, and I'll see you in the next one.